Stephen, you're covering the British Open. It's obviously a sort of FA Cup style, completely random draw. Does that help? Do you think?
I think it helps the tournament. I think it's great to have tournaments that are a bit different from the rest. It obviously. There's pluses and minuses where there are obviously people buying tickets, they don't know who they're going to see, they don't know what, most tournaments people might look at the draw and say, well, I might see such and such on that day, but they don't know that. But I think it's a great tournament actually. I really enjoy it for the sort of unexpected. You could get Ronnie O'Sullivan drawn against Judd Trump in the second round.
Yeah.
And that for me is the excitement of the tournament.
Yeah, the equivalent of Man U playing Liverpool.
Yeah. And it's obviously the first big tournament that's been in the UK. It's going to be in the UK this season, and it's one so you never know what to expect. I mean, last year Ryan Day won it out of nowhere because he didn't really play that well until he got to the final and beat Mark Allen, and they played really well at the final session. So it's one of them tournaments where if you're around at the right time, you just hang around, keep winning your matches.
You don't have to play brilliantly for the whole tournament.
Be there at the right time. Maybe all the other top players have got beat, and you're there at the end, so you could get someone unknown that could quite easily come out and win the British Open, and that's the beauty of the event, I think.
If you were a player, would you? You are a player. Do you prefer this sort of? Would you rather have a seeding system like Crucible, or is it more fun to just be thrown into the hat like that?
Well, they used to have a tournament. Used to have the British Open years ago. It was played in Derby. They had the same format, and after every round, John McCormick would come out and you do the draw with all the players there. And I must admit, at the time, the world number one, you kind of wanted to, there was one time I did play Steve Davis. We were the 1 and 2. We did play, and I think it was either second or third round. And I must admit, you don't, as the one of the top player, you don't really want to play another top player early. You'd rather get through a few rounds. But that's what it is. That's the nature of the beast. I mean, as I say, you've got to have events that are different. And this is different, and it's a great way to start the UK season.
To mark the return of the Kazoo British Open, we've been asking some of the top players on tour what their favourite British things are, their favourite things about Britain.
Rob, let's have a bit of fun then.
Right, go on.
What are the best 3 things about Britain?
Not a lot, to be fair.
Can you tell us your top 3 things that you love most about Britain, Mark?
Sausage and mash, supporting my home city Leicester, and just the country itself. People moan about it, but there's a lot worse countries.
Being British, geez, there's not that much that I love at home. Yeah, just probably friends and family.
Maybe the first one's the Land Rover. Is it British? Yeah. I love the cars. They're a bit too expensive to otherwise I might get
the man who has a Ferrari.
Yeah. Maybe if I sell the Ferrari, I might get a Land Rover.
Judd, what are your 3 favourite British TV shows?
I like some of the bad comedy, like In Between Us and stuff like that. Ricky Gervais as well, actually, I love him.
I suppose you've got to say Coronation Street, EastEnders.
Top 3 British TV show. Would have to go Gavin and Stacey. I like that. The Royal Family as well. I like that. And Not Going Out, Lee Mack.
Very good. You met him in the Crucible.
Yeah, I did, yeah. Big fan, I've watched him on TV, got all his DVDs, and it just increases me and makes me laugh.
John, what are your top 3 things that you love most about Britain?
Well, one, I'm Scottish. So 2 more, clean fresh air where I'm from, and some great golf courses.
Rob, what are your 3 favourite British foods?
It's got to be roast, innit? Roast number 1, chicken tikka masala. Well, it is British, innit? And nice suet pie and mashed potato, something like that, something hearty, that's my sort of food.
Lovely.
Not a big fan of British food. Chips I like. If that is British, I guess roast dinner, I think.
You mean typical British?
Yeah, stereotypical.
Oh, difficult.
We won't judge you, don't worry.
Normally I always go to Wagamama. I know it's Japanese, but yeah, I just love the Asian foods in UK. Yeah, Wagamama, sorry.
So like fish and chips, or?
I've only had it once, the fish and chips. That was with Jimmy White, maybe 16 years ago.
Did he pay?
He did, yeah, he did. I went over to practice with him and he paid for it.
Probably steak and ale pie, and I have to say curry. Being from Leicester, we've got a lot of Indian restaurants.
Luca, who are the top 3 greatest British sports people of all time?
Oh, Lewis Hamilton, probably. I'm gonna say David Beckham. because also now like he's like a businessman and he's like an icon. I think it's great. Yeah, I have to say Ronnie. Yeah, definitely. The things he's done on the table and his records.
Lewis Hamilton's got to be up there, and I definitely think Ronnie. I put them two on a bit of a pedestal.
You'd have to say Bobby Moore. Trying to think of the sports now. I think Ronnie, and I'd have to say Phil Taylor as well. I mean, you can't really get much better than those three, can you?
Andy Murray, Justin Rose, and obviously Ronnie's one of the greatest sports people we have as well.
So, Mark, what are your top 3 things about Britain?
Not paying taxes, that's not definitely not one of them. I don't know, is there 3 things? The weather's always crap, you get taxed to the hilt. Must be some good parts there.
So there you have it, some of our pros' favourite things about Great Britain, and none of them even said the Kazoo British Open. Well, that starts on Monday at the Centaur in Cheltenham. Tickets are still available. Head to wst.tv/tickets, and you can follow all the action across our social media platforms. Just search for World Snooker Tour.
So, Stephen, well, first of all, top 3 British foods?
Haggis supper.
We've not got a lot of we.
Haggis supper.
Fair. There you go. I mean, as British foods go, that's pretty Northern British.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. I mean, that's Scottish rather than British.
I'll go sausage and mash, I reckon.
But yeah. Haggis supper is yeah.
Haggis supper.
You ever had one? Haggis and batter with chips.
I've had haggis, but not a whole haggis.
You do the Edinburgh Fringe. You never have a haggis supper.
I've managed to do quite a lot of Edinburgh Fringe with, and like always swerve haggis.
Don't do it.
Supper,
Don't swerve it.
So a deep fried haggis.
Yep. It's magnificent.
It won't be attractive to people listening in other countries, but actually, you know, we've got a reputation for being bad at food in this country.
Yeah.
But haggis supper, I'd say sausage and mash, bangers
Yeah.
and mash, pie and mash. Top three British sports people. This is more difficult. You can name yourself.
No, I'm not going to name myself. Nick Faldo was one of my heroes in the 90s. I love winners. I love people who've sacrificed a lot to get to be the best, to get to the top.
I suppose you and Faldo were kind of similar in that
We were
regard,
very similar.
like-
I've watched interviews with him, and the way he talks about being apart from everyone, not being friends with people, not being keeping to yourself to in order to have that mystique.
To win,
very
yeah.
same. Steve Davis, you put him. He was my hero. Sport people. Oh, Andy Murray.
Right, yeah. I mean, that must be interesting watching someone.
He's Scottish though, isn't he? Not British.
Yeah,
British when he loses.
famously, yeah.
Scottish when he wins.
Was Davis like that as a player? Was he like distant from other people?
Yeah,
Was he
yeah,
similar
very,
mentality?
very, very much so. You could. When I first turned pro, you could walk past Steve Davis in a corridor, he wouldn't even look at you. Never mind say hello.
Fancy that, yeah.
And I found that difficult to be as cold as that, but I realised why he did it, and I adopted a similar way of being. Near the end of my career, I became friends with people, and that destroyed me. Friends are overrated.
There you go. You heard it here.